Hello, everybody. We're back for another update from Align Farms Regen trial. I'm joined today by the farm manager, Kiri, and our CEO, Rhys Roberts. And yeah, we'll get right into how things have been going on the farm, Kiri.
Yeah, so actually a really positive season, start to the season compared to last year, even with the flooding, etc., that we have had in the wet times. Wintering actually went really well, especially on the diverse species. We definitely noticed as a farm team that the cows responded well to the diverse mix compared to the conventional girls just on the standard kale. Obviously, we had to play around for the first 5 to 7 days with feed levels, as you don't always know what kind of what amount of true feed is actually in there. But once we got onto it, it went really well, and cows looked really good, had a shiny coat, which we don't normally see during winter, so that was nice to see. So they responded really well to that, and I guess the score was really not much different, so that was a wee bit surprising. We were a bit surprised on that, but yeah, other than that, it's actually gone really well so far.
Do you have any learnings from the season that you want to share with people?
Yeah, so really enjoyed the wintering, obviously, with the girls on the diverse mix. That was great in the wet times to be able to move them quite a bit and like not have pugging or anything like that. So that was awesome to see. Whereas on obviously our crops, we were getting that pugging because we obviously weren't shifting as far. And then learnings, we went in with a plan to really nail animal health this calving, and the team have done an amazing job this year. We've had really positive response to animal health, little metabolics to what we used to get 3 to 4 years ago. And I put that down to wintering and last year's prep. And then also little to no calving assists. Little to no calving assists. The cows seem to do what they do. RFM seem to be really good or dirty cows. And then metric curing, I think we did 28 out of the 850 that we have done, tested. And so that's been a really good response. We have in the last couple of weeks done a herd test, and in that I decided to do a Yoni's test because I had a couple come in earlier on, and we did pick up 18 total. So we have done further bloods on the suspect and the positives just to double check. But I think this year, looking at a few cows that we have culled strategically, I think we did about 10 on udders and things like that. It's actually nice to be able to get a nice herd to be able to nice to milk and not have any issues, and we should have a reasonably good tidy up, I guess you could say, this season. Obviously we're not highly stocked. We probably could do with a few more cows, and obviously finding about these Yonis is going to put a little bit more pressure on not having the stocking numbers. However, I am optimistic about what grass is going to do in regards to growth. So it might not be that bad to be lower stocked.
So if that's the case, then Rhys, how about yourself? Do you have any learnings you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think I've probably got 3 of them, and it's probably the key learning for us is just what a difference a year makes in regards to experience with the system, and probably underestimated, the real impact that year one had on everyone, and the challenges that we were faced, and there was times where we didn't have the answers or the solutions, and at times we probably got fixated on certain answers and certain questions. Whereas certainly coming in with another year's experience, it's been good to look back and see the learnings from there. The high drying those cows off earlier and coming back with a higher cover on the regenerative side certainly helped this year versus the previous year. That I think that's pretty critical to get right, is making sure that you've got the feed levels. We had a pretty tough calving in regards to weather, so having that higher cover certainly helped. And one of the, like we've been trying as a wider business to drop stocking rates over a long period of time and lift per cow performance. And I think we've been on this journey and dipping our toes somewhat for the last probably 2 to 3 years. And it's not until really this year that we've actually started to see that true benefit of having a lower stocking rate with per cow production being higher. So, the regenerative cows are certainly performing better than the conventional cows. And we're also seeing it within our wider business. The lower stocking rate farms are certainly performing better this year with the reduced pasture production. So, that's, it's probably a learning that we did 3 years ago, but we were a little bit disillusioned that we just weren't quite getting that follow through. But this year we've really seen a real lift, which has given us the confidence to continue dropping stocking rates. So, I think they're probably the 3 reflective learnings that we've had today.
Nice. Yeah. So, any particular highlights, Kiri, that you've had? Things that have, made you smile?
Definitely the animal health side of it. That's been really rewarding and really pleasing for the team, not having to deal with metabolics as much, if at all. It's been nice. And like I say, the herds, even down to the team, are just saying it's a lot nicer to milk, just easy cows. Whereas, so probably the highlight is the animal health, and conditions stayed reasonably good. We haven't really lost any condition. If not, we've gained it or maintained it, and so it's looking positive to going into mating.
Good news. All right, Rhys, what about yourself? Your highlight?
I guess farm performance across both systems is a real big highlight this year. With the team's learnt a lot and they've been putting a lot of effort in, which has been reflective in the results. So that's been really promising for myself and pleasing. So that's the key highlights being there, just in farm performance. And that one thing that I would make comment of is, I know Kiri and myself, we've struggled more sharing the conventional data of our business rather than the regenerative data, because the regenerative data, no one else has really got that data, so we're kind of trailblazing that, and whether we're good or bad, no one really knows. But with the conventional, we just find that we get a lot more comments around, I'm doing X per cow or X per hectare, and you're doing this, and so we've actually found that harder. So it's good to actually this year, Kiri and the team are not only nailing, in my opinion, the regenerative stuff, but they're also getting great results in their conventional side too, which is a lot more pleasing. That we're kind of like, we're not a bunch of mugs, and it's just it's more easier for both parties sharing that data. The conventional stuff's been quite hard, and I guess that's a learning as well. Was I think. No, I don't think 3 years ago I ever thought, sharing Regen data, that's going to be embarrassing if it's not working well. But I found the conventional stuff's been much harder to share. There's a lot of people that are quick to tell them about how successful they are.
Yeah, I think we underestimated the challenges that the trial would bring, and the added complexities last year. So it's good that we've ironed out those difficulties this year.
Yeah, we'll just forget last year.
Yeah. Trial runs.
That was our trial.
So is there anything that you found particularly disappointing this year so far?
I would say we went into this year planning on grazing the diverse mixes, the diverse pastures lower than what we did last year. And I would say that last round, which was our second round, we didn't put any pea on instead. And I am really nervous that not putting on anything could have quite an effect, especially when we're trying to take off. So I guess from a disappointing perspective, I'm a little bit optimistic, I guess, in the sense of when we last 2 years, we've had a lot of feed on the Regen side coming into December. And, that's when we've grown the most feed. I'm nervous that because we are now heading down to a lower residual on the Regen side, and we made a plan to do that this year, are we not going to get that that growth that we had in the last 2 years in December? So I guess I was kind of banking on that. And that's what I've kind of told people, that, you just wait till December, it goes off again, and, we have it. And I could be wrong. That could be just how it responds, but we are grazing it lower, so it may not follow through.
Yeah.
So it's not a disappointment as such. It's just a little bit, I'm nervous.
Yes, a little apprehension of what's to come.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Rhys? Do you have anything to add?
I guess it's not really a disappointment, but it has been a little bit frustrating on one hand that, visually the cows look in better condition coming from winter. In the condition score, there was no difference, and visually they looked healthier, but there was nothing in the blood tests. So I guess it's not a disappointment, but it was kind of like, oh, that was interesting. And I guess from my perspective, again, it's hard to call it a disappointment, but an observation is the regrowth of that winter feed wasn't as good as what we expected. So 2 years ago we used grass because we wanted regrowth, and the grass took over and dominated, and then we ended up getting regrowth, but we didn't get the diversity. So this year we decided, last season we decided to take the grass out, and so it didn't take over, and we got great diversity, but we got no regrowth. So that's I wouldn't say disappointing. The result was disappointing. We would have preferred more regrowth, but on the flip side, we got diversity too. So I guess it's just understanding what you're chasing. So they're probably the two that stick out in my eyes as something that wasn't disappointing, so to speak, but it was a little bit like, I was expecting better results, than what we got. So, but overall, it's pretty hard to be disappointed where we sit right at this moment. I acknowledge Kiri's pessimism towards grass production, and one structural difference that we've made this year is last year we grew a lot of feed because we had a lot of feed, so we used the sunlight, grass grows grass philosophy. So we grew 17 tonne of feed and did 1,300 milk solids per hectare. My argument is, the quality wasn't great. So my argument is, why don't we grow 15 tonne of really great quality and still do 1,300 milk solids a hectare? So I guess, Kiri's 100% right. She's at the cold front making, seeing the day-to-day consequences or positives of that decision. But for me, it'll be great to understand that situation next time we meet up in a month or two time to say, hey, look, that was either a great strategy or a very, very poor strategy. But last year we grew a lot of feed. There's no doubt about that. But whether or not we actually utilise it and turned it into milk's another question. So I guess we're trying to find that middle balance there.
I think it's good that we're trialing this, that we're trialing like grazing it conventionally, I guess you could say, because we haven't really done that. We've done it when we've had no choice. But yeah, to actually trial it, to be able to share, what is the difference in growth and how much feed we actually get out from it. One other thing that I would say is a highlight, but also further to Rhys's body condition comment, is the highlight is the cell count for the Regen herd is a lot lower this year and lower than the conventional. So that's good. So all the effort that we did put in at drying off, doing what we did, it has actually paid off. So we've had a good season with that. But yeah, further to Rhys's comment about the body condition scoring, it is a bit frustrating, or not frustrating, because I can't say that I'm trying to see a better conventional herd or a better Regen herd. But there is a few things that we have done, so body condition scoring, and even when it comes down to how many cows Mitch checked, how many cows have been treated for mastitis or things like that, there is not much in it between the two. And I'm not saying that there should be, and I'm not saying that there should be more or less on the conventional or the regen side, but and it's not disappointment, but yeah, there's still not much in it between the two. So we're not actually seeing any effects from either side as of yet. The only big one was, and it was really cool, I was were really, really good. And maybe we could get Kate to share that online. But that was really cool to see, more so because of the depletion that we have had over the years, but it was higher on the regen side. So that's definitely a correlation with the winter feeding.
Great. All right. Well, maybe we'll go into some specific discussions now. You already have both spoken a bit about animal health. Do you have anything you'd want to add in that area?
No.
Yeah, I'd like double down on that cell count thing. That's a bit of a relief, to be fair, because that last year we kind of thought, well, what is it? You know, there was all sorts of ideas thrown around, and it's good to just see some kind of settling there. And I don't think it's anything to do with regenerative. It's probably more to do with some of the things that weren't happening last year, or the changes we've made, and just structurally around some historic stuff. So again, with all our data, I think the big caveat to all our data is, you know, we're sharing everything that we know. There's nothing that we're hiding behind it. But really, realistically, it's going to take time for our data to mature and become more relevant. So that's just part and parcel with it. But you know, we are learning very quickly and happy to open up our business in any way. So I don't have anything in particularly in animal health. Yeah, we haven't had in the past we've had some challenges with animal health with what we've been doing, and it's good to kind of get a relatively smooth sailing run at the moment. Yep. One thing that I would note on animal health is we do have that paddock it's paddock 14, so half of it's in like a pasture mix, like a diverse pasture mix, and the other half is a diverse mix with next to no grass in it. And that was a genius idea that I had, trying to eliminate grass and whatnot. But we have since this year lost a cow with bloat on that, so we have to put our hand up and say that we have fallen into that trap. So we need to be mindful of that going forward. So we need to be making sure that grass is there or thereabouts, or maybe we look at preventative measures. But at this stage, it's not life or death. Well, it was for that cow, but for us, it's not life or death.
Yeah, no, that was actually really fun. The team were gutted on that. I'm not gonna lie. They were trying to hit their 1% death rate, and Teddy was actually gutted when that happened. But we have had that happen a few times, and now we just know that leading up to that paddock, salt is ad lib at the cowshed, which it kind of is anyway. And we probably are going to put bloat oil in the trough, and that for that paddock, just to stop it. We notice that it's not straight away. It's usually on their third break. But yeah, the clover is a lot there. So I think people would have nightmares if they seen it, because the conventional farmer and me did when we first grazed it.
Any other comments to add around pasture while we're on the topic? Anything not covered?
No, it's looking pretty good. Obviously, at the moment, right now, residuals are extremely tidy, and that's more because we don't. Not many people are growing feed at the moment, which is a little bit frustrating. But I think surely it's going to take off anytime soon, and everyone's in the same boat. But the ryegrass paddocks that are on the regen side are, I think, growing better this year. They're not amazing, but I think that they're kind of fixed themselves a bit from that, from not having N for so long now. And I was hoping that we would see that response, that over time they would start
Recover.
to start to recover and bounce back.
Yeah.
So that has been good to see them not struggle so much, because what we were having to do in the last 2 years is put them, not graze really the highest paddock, make sure that we would go into like a diverse paddock and then have a ryegrass and then a diverse and then a ryegrass. And that was just so that we weren't getting to the end of the wedge and like getting to the middle of the wedge and having these short paddocks to go into. Whereas so far I don't think we'll have that. They're responding quite well.
That's positive.
Yeah.
How about you, Rhys? Anything to add?
Yeah, two things. Obviously, we had a very, very wet winter. Like Kiri and I have been on this farm for, I think this is the 10th or 11th year, and the Ashburton River come onto the farm once in that 10 years. It come on 3 or 4 times during calving. And pasture damage is there, and it appears to be worse in the diverse paddocks, more open this year. So, you know, what do we do with that? Do we go and drill annuals into it? Do we go drill a diverse in there? Do we do nothing? So I think that's something that I am critically aware of at the moment. Is, you know, we need soil cover, and it's not in every paddock. There's just 3 or 4 maybe that are in particular. You know, where they were when it was wet. The other one is some fascinating results coming from our botanicals, in particular, rightly or wrongly. It's interesting to note the herb content between the two species. So if you head on to our website, go to the animal health and look at botanical samples and have a look, and it's, in my eyes, fascinating stuff. So that's interesting, and we're going to track that over time. But certainly a higher legume content, higher herb content in the regenerative, which is self-explanatory. And the third one that I'll touch on, and this I believe we are starting to see, and I don't have any direct science, and it's going to take time, is I believe that I've always had a fear, and not a great fear, that if you continue leave higher residuals, you'll kind of breed less palatable pasture species into your species over time. And all I can say is, if you could drive through our farm at any time, and without me telling you or Kiri telling you, probably pick out years 1, 2, and 3 for of when those pastures were sown. And you could also do that to some degree with our conventional paddocks. You could probably pick out that those paddocks are with 1, 2, or 3 years old, and then you wouldn't be able to tell how old everything else is. So I'm not saying it's abnormal, but I am worried over time that we're going to need to be continuously drilling in species in some way into these pastures to make sure they remain vibrant. And it's an observation at the moment. I'm not, and I think the botanicals will really start picking this up over time. And that's an area that we need to continue to support Clare with, around starting to identify grass species and seeing the tracking the changes over time. So that's an area that I think is the next cab off the rank for us, is understanding, you know, if all we're getting regrowing in years 4 is fescue, timothy, and phalaris, is that a good or a bad thing? We don't know yet, but so I think that's probably the next frontier for me, is understanding what years of regenerative diverse pastures do. And I think we're probably one of a few that have 4 years data of the stuff now that we can start tracking over time, which is great. So pretty happy overall with pastures, but certainly there's some the next question starting to already come into my mind around what it looks like going forward.
Yeah, it was good to be aware of what could be coming. So we'll now talk a bit about supplements. What have you been feeding the cows this year?
So they just got the standard Springer mix, which was silage, straw, and grass, and then a bit of grain. and then mostly just grain and grass, but we have put silage in, quite a bit of silage in, and then we've stopped, and then we've actually just started to put a bit of silage in to get us through this bit as well. We're hoping not to bring back silage on the farm, but like in October, but yeah, we've had to, yeah.
I
Anything
don't,
to add?
Kiri will be able to correct me. I don't think there's been a time when one herd's had it and the other herd hasn't.
Yeah, it's
been pretty consistent. So yeah, the
it's
conventional
been
hasn't been
all or
growing
nothing.
Yeah.
And the feeding's pretty much been all or nothing as well. Well, no, the feeding's been the same. Sorry.
Yeah, so
it hasn't
supplements have been the same. I don't think there's ever been a time when one's been getting it, but the difference in milk production has come from the lower stocking rate. So to some degree, yeah. So yeah, all in all, it's about similar.
And the rumination, well, what I thought was pretty much same. Once me and Claire did the graph, it was like a bouncy board gone off.
Yes, no
gone
trends
everywhere.
on that graph.
So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But in saying that, rumination has been really good this year. I guess it's all the silage that's going in.
Cool. So yeah, we already spoke about winter a bit, but is there anything additional that you want to say about wintering on diverse?
I think the only thing that I would add is that if we continue with the bale grazing, that we put the bales there a lot sooner. Because I was getting nervous, driving around all the paddock on this nice diverse mix to put bales in place. So that would be my only thing, is try and get in there a bit earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to add, Rhys?
Yeah, a couple of things on wintering. So like this whole definition of what waste is quite intriguing, because and especially when you start talking about bale grazing, because when it was dry, there was virtually no wastage. When it was wet, they pretty much wasted all of the hay, and you thought, well, that's wastage. But then it's because they sat on it. So you'd argue, though, the counter argument to that is if they were sitting there, it means they're not standing over in the corner pugging another part of the paddock. So it's like understanding waste is that hay has been wasted, whereas if they're sitting there for the day or the night, that means they're not pugging up half a hectare over in the corner. So it's quite, what's worse, 250 kilos of hay being pugged into the ground, or a hectare of feed that's going to take another 6 weeks to recover. You'd actually probably argue that the pugging is going to cause us more financially than the thing, but we visually see, oh, there's wastage, oh, that's it, so that's intriguing. And the other one is we're probably started to, across the business, we're phasing out cropping just down to the bare minimums, and then going to grass wintering, so planting a lot of fescues and cocksfoots and clovers. And this year there's going to be within our business circa 4,000 animals wintered on grass. So we're starting that. So we're pessimistic but optimistic around the results. We're pessimistic because it's our first year of understanding it, and in some areas it de-risks our business, and other areas it increases the risk. But overall, we're pretty optimistic that it's only going to provide better body condition score, which in turn will drive higher per cow milk production and potentially better in-calf rates. So the team are pretty keen to get to grass wintering as quickly as they can, and me included. So yeah, and that it's still diverse pastures, but certainly I wouldn't call it hyper diverse. Yeah, there will be some hyper diverse paddocks, but the lion's share of them will be 8 to 10 species. Yeah.
All right, and then yeah, how's the things been going with the team? Anything comments to make around that?
No, just lot more positive this year. That's probably coming from me. But no, really, really good. Really, you know, like the boys obviously made the 1% death rate rule. So I'm going to hold them to that till the 31st of May and see how they go. Currently, they're still going good. But no, really, really good, really good. I think, like we said at the start, we now know what we are doing, and that's made a huge difference. It's just, yeah, it's become our norm now with it, and we don't really know any different.
Nice. Anything to add to that, Rhys?
No, not really. Just further illustrates probably one of those key kind of learnings for me is, yeah, it's amazing what 1 year does from an experience perspective and understanding. And I guess if we ever get to the stage where we've got to try and give someone the blueprint of regenerative farming and they decide that that's where they want to take their property and their business going forward, I think, probably the key one is it's certainly, like doing a trial is not what recommendation, but it's feeling yourself out. You've got to learn where your values are and what you really truly believe in, and what success looks like for your business. Because one of the challenges that I've always found with the team is what's successful to one person isn't success to someone else, and making sure that everyone's completely aligned to the kind of the vision is easier said than done. There's no doubt, especially when things get tough. So, head off to the team. They've kind of been to places they didn't really want to go, but I think it's in the grand scheme, it's probably been good for everyone to understand that and go through that together. So right now the team performing quite well. Yeah, no real complaints there. Pretty content with where everything's going there, and it's probably for us. It's how do we a lot of people want to quantify some of these social things that we've got, and it's challenging, but I guess across our wider business, we are starting to see some real big lifts in the way our team are feeling, and we're tracking that via our kind data. We've seen a huge lift in both body, mind, and life stats. So that's really pleasing for myself that we're seeing some improvement in that area. I guess the old story, what gets measured gets managed, and I think the team are doing well at that. So, look, overall, the team, I'm pretty content with where the team is, but I don't know how we ever get to the place where we can say, does regenerative farming change your life? I just don't know how we can get that accurate. But one idea I do have is,
I think that I struggle with like how you can compare the two systems and the social impact that has on the team, or the impact that it has on the team. Because for us, we are doing a trial. We're probably more measuring what a trial has an effect on a team rather than a regen system or a conventional system. And I believe it is what you make it. So yeah, if regen's what it is, then you'll make it work and you'll make it successful for your team. And if conventional's what you want to do, then the same applies. So from a social perspective and or from a team perspective, I think we're going off their experience with a trial, not with regen farming.
Yeah, that's why we just haven't bothered doing a survey at this point, because it's just not going to give us anything concrete, especially when.
And they're never going to say to us, "Definitely love doing a trial. Would do that every day." So like no one's really going to say that in this kind of scale. So yeah, I think if you were looking at doing something similar, I think all your emphasis needs to be on your team. That needs to be the biggest thing, because I don't think people realize how much effect that has on people just doing a trial. It's really, really draining. So that's probably my only thing that I've said to people is if you're going to do a trial, your number one focus is the people.
no, I guess it's been successful from my perspective, and for us, it's really around where we go from now. We've kind of built up a year and a half's worth of data. There's some really good stuff. So for us, it's, you know, we're still always on the lookout for any feedback that we can receive around what else could we be doing, and preferably that wouldn't involve reinventing the wheel. But if there's any add-ons or bolt-ons that we could be looking into that people are interested in, by all means get in touch, because you know, in some respect, we're governed by everyone that's interested. So if there's anyone that wants to see us do something or trial something within reason, we're interested.
All right, so yeah, kind of start wrapping this up. Do you have anything to say about the coming few months and what's planned on farm? Anything about mating?
No, so the only thing that we have planned for mating is we put in 47 seeders last week. So we started mating on the 20th, yesterday, and we put in 46 last Friday, and then we're just doing 2 PG YY programs, 2 into 1 and then 3 into 2. And that's pretty much all we're doing, and then a 10 and a bit week mating plan, AI plan.
Anything to
Collins
add to
seem to
that?
be working this year, so that's a bonus.
got your hands on them now, figured it out.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't put collars on and start a trial in the same year.
Noted. Anything to add, Rhys?
Yeah, for me, it's probably just trying to stay out of Kiri's way. It's, you know, tempting to get involved when there is level of ambiguity there, because you just kind of, you want to try and solve that ambiguity or make it easier for people. So, you know, it's finding that balance there. And probably the key one for me is the next horizon or frontier around how do we attract some value for our products from all the effort that we're putting in, and you know, that's the real crunch for me, is how do we optimize that, and how do we get a brand that recognises regenerative milk and educate the consumer. And I think, you know, like what we're doing today is a great way to educate the consumer. So I think that's, you know, that's what to expect out of us over the next 6 to 12 months is this, how do we now turn this into a value proposition, and I think people will better understand what we've been trying to achieve over the last 2 to 3 years. So that's the key one for me, is getting out of Kiri's way and trying to support the team and everyone around us, that to how do we find a value for this product and put it into the market and actually make a difference to human health. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah, we'll wrap this up then. Thanks, you guys, for your time. It's worth mentioning that we have scheduled our first field day after the first few got canceled because of COVID. So everyone is welcome to come to the farm on December 7th. It'll be from 10:30 to 1 or 1:30, but we'll be advertising it on all our social media channels, etc. So yeah, hope to see you all there. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.